Hi, I'm Arthur, and this is part 2 in a new 20-part series I am doing to cover second founding Space Marine chapters in order with the legions. Do you need to have seen the other part to understand this one? No, it's a standalone video, but it would make me happy if you did watch it. So the second Legion video was not nearly as difficult to decide as you'd think. See, for the uninformed, there is no second Legion. They were erased from history, and aside from insane ramblings about fan theories or covering an AAU of some sort, there really isn't any analog I could go off of. So, what to do in that case? Well, you'd be surprised, but, Grey Knights were the obvious choice. Created in the second founding, they don't belong as a successor chapter to any of the other legions of Space Marines. They don't have a Primarch, so as an outlier, I needed a reason to discuss them, and as such, I'm putting them here. If you have a problem with that, blow me. So in the second founding, there were a lot of chapters made, but there were a few specialists created. The Grey Knights were one of these specialists, and if I'm being honest, they have one of the weirdest backgrounds in the setting. Basically, with the rise of demons, chaos, monsters, and Fulgrim, Malcador the Sigillite, the right hand and best friend of the Emperor, realized that he needed a specialized task force to deal with most threats that would be to the Imperium that require a bit of a psychic touch. Even if some of the members were from the legions that turned traitor, as long as they were loyal at heart, he inducted them into this pseudo-legion known as the Knights Errant. It contained some of the most interesting members of the traitor legions, like Nathaniel, my sword is long, my balls are heavy, Garrow, DJ Big Nasty himself, or Garviel Loken for those who only know him formally. These elite members were tasked with being the Hand of Malcador. Now, my research into these fuckers is minimal and only just beginning, but what you need to know is that at the end of it, during the second founding, the Grey Knights were founded from them. Now, were they using a mixed gene seed of all the members? No. They went somewhere a bit funkier and cultivated gene seed organs using the genetic code of the Emperor, because they all needed to be the best Space Marines possible. They were created to be incorruptible, psychically charged, and able to fight demons head-on, and have equal footing most times. Clad in the best war gear in the Imperium next to the Custodes, the Grey Knights are a peculiar chapter. See, in the setting, there is the Inquisition, tasked with dealing with any threat to the Imperium that operates above the boundaries of the law that the Imperium has. The Inquisition was initially divided into two sections, the Ordo Xenos and the Ordo Malleus, with the former dealing with threats of an alien persuasion, such as a gene-stealer infestation and people wanting to fuck Tau women, and the latter specifically inclined with dealing with demons and chaos as a whole. Both ends have a specific chapter of Space Marines dedicated to them, but we shall cover the Death Watch at some point in the future. So the Grey Knights are essentially the hammer blow of the Ordo Malleus, and specialize in fucking demon up so much that sometimes they don't even come back ever. Kept secret on the Moon of Titan, which is also their training grounds and fortress monastery, they are equipped for pretty much every engagement that could include demons. Every member of the chapter is psychically charged, and instead of traditional Space Marine weapons, they are given force weapons and anti-demon ranged weapons, like the Silencer and the Psi Cannon. They have various specialized ranks that are used to deal with psychic threats like demons, chaos incursions, and just warp entities. Prognosticars that are able to basically see into the future when a demon attack is going to happen so they can set up beforehand and try and do their best to stop it. The older members of the chapter themselves are usually used as these prognosticars because they're seen as the most valuable members, so we can't send them on the battlefield. Or they are used to train new Grey Knights. And speaking of the level of training, they fight with probably the highest degree of skill that any army is going to have in terms of Space Marines. And honestly, on the tabletop, that kind of shows. As when you are playing a 2,000-point game, you have like 6 units? 7 if you take extra infantry? And if you're being silly, maybe a few rhinos, but like that's it. They are an elite army that has a bit of a weird history. So here's where I go on an unhinged fucking meltdown about the Grey Knights, because their entire history in lore is a bunch of fucking wacky nonsense. Because apparently no one knows how to fucking write these weird grey nerds. I'm not kidding. There are so many inconsistencies in how they are written in comparison to their power scale that by fucking Jove, it is sometimes crazy to hear the stories they are involved in. I'm going to get it out of the way, but before you ask, there is one story that if you know anything about the bad writing of the Grey Knights, you've heard it. It's kind of a rite of passage if you're a spicy meme man like myself to have to bring it up at some point, but oh ho ho! The Grey Knights are supposed to be nigh uncorruptible, meaning that chaos cannot get purchased in their soul. But in one of the most notorious and fucking stupid moments in lore history, a convent of Battle Sister, the holiest and second most dangerous members of the Imperium of Mankind's army, saved the Grey Knights from demons and bolstered their ranks by helping them fight off what was coming. To which the Grey Knights, in response, ended up murdering the whole convent of Battle Sisters to get their blood to make them even more uncorruptible in the face of demons, which makes no fucking sense, because there was no threat in any way. In lore, there is only ever history of maybe one Grey Knight who was corrupted, and that was a Grey Knight trapped in the warp in the realm of chaos, fighting his way to Slaaneish's palace in order to kill the Dark Prince. He made it all the way to Slaanesh, and it took being in the presence of a god of chaos for an extended period of time for the Grey Knight to buckle a little bit. Rumors of the Purple Knight aside, yeah, the Sisters of Battle blood story is fucking stupid and goofy and stupid. But on top of that, you have stories of such feats of strength that it kind of feels like somebody out there wants them to be the protagonist of 40K without the consent of GW, the other authors, and God. Like, apparently, the Chapter Master's Supreme Grand Master, Kaldor Drago, carved the name of one of the Grey Knight Supreme Grand Masters prior into the heart of fucking Mortarion after uttering his true name to banish the Demon Primarch back to the Warp, which he's apparently able to fight a Primarch one-on-one and be kind of okay with his little tricks and his little traps and weird magic bullshit, which, speaking of bullshit, that is bullshit. Being within a square kilometer of Mortarion and not being a Primarch is liable to make your fucking health insurance premiums go up, so just being in front of him and being uncorruptible isn't going to help. Fuck the gene seed of the Emperor. Some stories have Grey Knights even teaming up to fight a greater demon, and with maybe the loss of 4 guys, they kill a supercharged Slaaneshi demon hopped up on ground up Eldar warpstone crack. But in other stories, you have Grey Knights fighting alongside other chapters, struggling to compete against heretic Astartes like the Death Guard, which is fucking insane to think about. The difference between Death Guard Plague Marines and a greater demon on Eldar Coke. This scale is inconsistent to say the least. But it's time for me to give my opinion rather than pointing out the little inconsistency. The Grey Knights, to put it in understandable terms for you, imagine that one friend you had in high school, maybe junior high, who walks up to you and asks if you want to learn about his fan-made Pokemon, about how cool it is and how much stronger it is than every other Pokemon, but is still super low-key, not the strongest Pokemon. He goes off about how it has some, like, hyper-niche, super cool ability that no other Pokemon can use, and he's, like, the bestest at everything, and he's Steel Psychic type, because those two together are fucking the coolest combination, don't you know? But the second you bring up how other Pokemon are better or you don't care, he has a fucking meltdown. Yes, I'm comparing Grey Knights to Sonichu. Calm the fuck down, we are all adults and can see how they all come off as the Gary Sue do not steal OC who's good at melee shooting, kill the demons, cannot lose. Their leader can bench like 40 plates LMAO with no arched back. think I'm letting my heart bleed out a little bit here because, to be honest, I just really don't like the Grey Knights. I just don't like the idea of a chapter being flat out better than other chapters of Space Marines. I like there being hyper niche focused. We do this specific task better. Like, Imperial Fists are good at sieging, Blood Angels are better at melee, and I even like it when some singular Marines are just flat out better as a whole at specific tasks, but I just really don't like it when an entire chapter is listed as being better trained, better at everything, including psychic, shooting, and melee. They cannot lose, and they are the best at everything. I feel like it robs every encounter with them with a bit of bite, and usually just puts them in a position like Worf off of Star Trek to get their ass kicked to show how dangerous a threat is. I don't like them, but I can kind of understand why other people do. The white and silver armor, the mystique of being kept a secret for thousands of years, only letting a select few know about them, and servitor-style lobotomizing anyone who finds out that isn't supposed to know. It's cool, it's grimdark, but I just can't get behind it. But what do you think about the Grey Knights? Cool? Lame? Still reeling from the fact that I said they are the 40k equivalent of a DeviantArt Sonic OC? I understand. But let me know in the comments. I want to see how angry I can make people. Also, remember to like and subscribe, as it helps with the channel. And lastly, I want to thank my channel members for supporting me in my hour of need. If you want to see my content early or even see exclusive content, then be sure to join in. If I'm correct, part 1 of another 20-part series should be up right now for Arthur Lords only. But before I go, I just want to let you all know, it doesn't matter how cool you think you are. You are not Nathaniel Garrow basking in the light of the Emperor fighting a giant fly demon on the surface of the moon cool.